Disneyland Paris announced that they're bringing back a De la Terre à la Lune inspired version of Space Mountain. But did you know when Disneyland Paris opened, there was no Space Mountain at all? Sacre bleu, right? Let's learn more about this change and see if I can finally get them to rename Discovery Land to Tomorrowland. I think I might win.
Good morning, D23. Hello. It's great to be here with you this morning. My name is Michel Bendoek and I'm the Vice President and Creative Executive for Disneyland Paris. And maybe yesterday at the Honda Center. Have you been to the Honda Center? Who has been to the Honda Center here? All right. Maybe you saw a little bit of news that we at Disneyland Paris are going to bring back Space Mountain, de la Terre de la Lune, to the park. Real excited about this? I can tell you, I personally am so excited that we're doing this. It has been a favorite of mine ever since I wrote this ride for the first time in 1969, about a year after the opening. And I'm just over the moon, literally, that we are going to bring this back. So I thought it would be nice to talk a little bit about this attraction in more detail, and who other than the world famous Tim Delaney is here to talk about this attraction with me. Tim, good morning.
Good morning to everyone last night. As Michelle said, the announcement last night was, the response was fantastic. And I'm so excited about that, but I will tell you that the response in Europe is going to be over the moon. Pardon the pun, but that's really the case. That's really what it was. It's very special. I've been getting emails for years, people going, can you bring back the original show? And I'm like, well, I said stay tuned. So we saw it last night.
Tim, we see a picture here behind us of the building. I'd say this is one of the most iconic buildings ever created for any Disney park. It's beautiful, it's spectacular, it's timeless. So let's dive into the creation of this. Tim, this is a rendering that you did. This is your drawing. Tell us a little bit more about how this attraction came to be.
Well, when the decision was made by the Disney company to go into Europe, we knew there were opportunities to be able to do fantastic stories. Walt had a background, loved stories and characters over in Europe. And so we knew for the first time, because I was going to do the Tomorrowland, that we had great stories to tell. And for the first time, we were going to actually bring characters to Tomorrowland, but not normal characters. These were going to be the great visionaries of Europe. Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, Leonardo da Vinci, a little bit of Walt Disney, and some George Lucas. So it allowed us to create a collection of futures. Now the challenge of doing that is, what kind of architecture do you do? So our team did extensive research, and we decided placemaking would be a collection of buildings that represented futures of a different time. The result of this, as Michelle said, is that it created a land that is timeless. And that was really special. So,
so here's some explorations that you did, Tim, and I could clearly see that it started a little bit more futuristic, as in like modern future. So what made you kind of like land on a future that looks like it's a Victorian future, a classic future?
Once the story got developed and the idea of taking Jules Verne's story from the Earth to the Moon, where he wrote in 1865 about a giant cannon that would launch this train into outer space. It was a perfect story in the perfect location here in Paris. And so this is the foundation of what we did. And we knew our local audience. And I can tell you, it's a personal comment of my own, especially working in multiple international parks, is that when Disney reaches into the existing surrounding culture and integrates them together, you have a bond that goes with the family, or with the fans, and with the guests who come to the Disney company. And in this particular case, creating this kind of story from the Earth to the Moon vision needed to be something very special. And so that's what we did. And this is the exploration of many of them. Believe me, this is the tip of the iceberg. We have to do so many of these kinds of different kind of visions, but we finally ended up on the one that you see today.
So today we are all very familiar with this term like called steampunk, but I think at the time that you were designing this, that term, I don't know if it already existed or not, but it was not as common as it is today. So you are really one of the forefathers, I'd say, of the steampunk movement, right?
I would love to take credit for that. Basically what happens is that in these kinds of storytelling things, at that time when you think about Jules Verne, it was a celebration of mechanical devices. And that's why we made it kind of a mechanical looking building. Plus we put this gigantic cannon on the side. And there was a reason for doing that. So we can talk about that in a minute. Go ahead.
So Tim, this is your sort of like final rendering of the building. And I love this drawing. Not only is it just beautiful, the color is beautiful, but it captures the essence, you know, every detail of this attraction right in this drawing. And so it's not only just a beautiful rendering for a press release, but it's also so useful for Imagineers to see what the project really entails. Right?
Well, it's really important when you have an idea to clearly define what it is, because in the Imagineering business, if you will, we still have to sell these ideas. And things, when people see something that is very compelling, it's put together so the story makes sense, we actually can do it on budget, this is the way you do it. And this particular rendering is probably, as I said, a little bit of the tip of the iceberg. There's probably 50 before this, but this is the one that really kicked it over and launched it to get started.
So these are also your drawings, this beautiful, beautiful poster. And again, I just love how you just envisioned this future that was set in the past, and it makes it so timeless. So tell us a little bit more about what we see on the screen here.
Well, it's always important, as I said, you have to sell things, but you also have to promote things. And we wanted our audience, our European audience, to understand this was truly a connection between Jules Verne's story and what Disney was going to do. So these drawings here help promote everything we're doing. As a matter of fact, you were watching everything we were doing while on the outside, seeing, you know, how you promote this attraction.
That's right. And one of the key components of this attraction, of course, is what we already see there in that beautiful logo. It's the cannon. It's gorgeous, it's spectacular, it's iconic. First, before we sort of dive into the cannon more, tell us a little bit more, Tim, like how did you come up with the idea to do this cannon and have the train actually right over the top of the building? You could have perhaps also envisioned the Space Mountain where the launch was inside the building, but no, it's outside, which creates this beautiful kinetic energy in the land, seeing the trains over the top of the building and then falling into the building. So,
well, first we have to touch about what is extraordinary about Space Mountain. Although it has kind of a Victorian look to it, it is all the newest and latest technology at the time. We had this world's first catapult launch coaster. There had been catapult launches. This was the first one representing the entire ride. So again, we wanted to be shot into outer space, so we needed something that actually represented that. The other element to this thing was that, you know, we did onboard audio for the first time, and also we're doing loops in the dark. So it's amazing. The cannon itself is it's just an iconic piece. One of the things that I really love, and I think is really successful in Disney parks, is to actually create a ride and an attraction where the guests who are watching see the people who are on the ride. It creates energy in the land, it creates energy around the ride, and that's what this did. And this, I love this picture.
It's massive. It's like, if you've never been to it, like it's a giant piece of equipment.
Yeah, we have 65 team members standing in front of it. So that gives you an idea. You know, it's great to do big and crazy things. And our team was thrilled to be involved, you know, in creating something so memorable and so powerful.
Not the best picture of me, but I was able to walk it recently for this project. And yeah, when you walk through that thing, it's big when you're in the train, but when you walk it, it's absolutely amazing. And I'm so glad that as part of this whole project, we are also, of course, envisioning that the cannon will be restored in full glory. Isn't that great?
You said it.
So yeah, I'm so thrilled about it, and I do want to touch also a little bit on what you said. You know, the music, the onboard music. It was indeed the first coaster that had onboard music, and it's spectacular. Originally composed by Steve Branson, and in such beautiful music. I'm so happy that it comes back because for me,
it's fantastic.
when I wrote it the first time, it was like half the experience almost for me. This gorgeous orchestral music, this big orchestral sweep when the train starts to drive into the tunnel, into the cannon, and it was all perfectly timed, and it was spectacular. It was never done before. It was, you know, an amazing experience.
Yeah, it really sets you up. It's a real soundtrack for a great adventure.
So there's a whole team working on a project like this, Tim, and physical models we can see all around us in this pavilion. They're still an important design tool for us today, and they were also for Space Mountain.
Absolutely. I mean, we had to actually make sure everything fits and works together, and there's nothing like a three-dimensional model. Also behind me, you will see that there was a track layout, and you can see the inversion layers and all the components that were inside the mountain. I remember when we first put this together, our ride engineer said, we don't need a mechanical model, we don't need all this stuff. This was sitting outside my office for about 2 years, and every day somebody would come in from engineering saying, you see, this is how it works, this is how it works. So it's a combination of old world technology and new world technology that makes everything that we do so special.
Yeah, the models are just always so helpful, and you know, can't do any project without a great team. And we have a great team in Paris also now working on this new version of Space Mountain, and we're very happy to have you also, you know, work on it a little bit.
Oh my God! I first want to say I was thrilled to work on Disneyland Paris and have the opportunity to join the team and have Tony Baxter as our overall creative lead, who assembled this A team of designers. So we were great, and I was very fortunate to have on one side of me, I was in Discoveryland, Eddie Sada was on Main Street, and Tom Morris was on Fantasyland, and I felt like, you know, this creative sandwich that was going on, and it was really great. Secondly, my team, that you see behind here, fantastic people. I mean, it's really all about people, and I can just, as you well know, looking here at D23, what it takes to do these projects. Everybody emphasizes it, and I feel very special I have these people working with me.
So, in 1995, this attraction opens to the public. And I was a teenager living in Europe, and this was of course before social media was a thing. But I can tell you, the opening of Space Mountain in 1995 was a broad European event of unbelievable scale. The opening was spectacular. It was broadcast live on TV in every country. And it was just amazing. I was glued to the TV, and I couldn't wait to write this. So for you, that must have been even a more special moment.
Well, it was amazing, and I remember being on the opening day of Euro Disneyland, for those who remember that, in '92, and it was an amazing, wonderful opening. But I have to say that, you know, our audience and our guests didn't quite get the Disney thing. 3 years later, when we opened this, and this happens on every park that we do, once our guests and our cast members become part of what this whole experience of Disney is all about, it's over the moon again. And I'm sorry for that cliche, but it really is. So when we did this opening here, people just, I don't know, it was so amazing that they got so excited because, again, it's a new attraction. It was technically advanced, and it was that marriage of culture where we put things together. This Disney cultural thing together, the pride that they had, again, I'm sorry for re-emphasizing again, but it's extremely important.
And with the opening came a massive, absolutely massive marketing campaign for this attraction. And to revisit sort of like the excitement of that era, let's look at the very interesting and perhaps for the time especially quite unusual TV ads.
I love this commercial.
Every commercial ads, on TV, you saw this commercial when the ride opened. But let's revisit that commercial because it's actually really special. If if you haven't seen it, you know, have a look and enjoy. I have to click it.
Space Mountain, la plus grande aventure de la galaxie à Disneyland Paris.
Isn't that awesome? Isn't that great?
It's amazing.
A couple of comments I want to make about this. First of all, it was a very European style commercial, very not necessarily Disney, but and again, I thought it was extraordinary. And secondly, you saw that there were contemporary elements into it, which means it kind of replays into this timeless quality that the future, interest in the future really has. And so I just love that commercial. It was like, I was shocked when I first saw it, and I was like, that helped promote the heck out of this.
So opening day, Tim, like, you have any special memories there? I see you were with some amazing people.
Well, yes, I had a very interesting lunch on opening day. It was Carl Barks and everybody. Do you know Carl Barks? Woo! I love because I always ask that question. People go, who? You know, DuckTales. Buzz Aldrin, me, and my really good friend Ray Bradbury. And so we had the greatest lunch at Walt's Restaurant in the Discovery Room, and we just talked about space travel and dreams of the future. And you know, one of the benefits that you get working, you know, not only with team members, but you get to meet people who admire what we all do, and that was really special. This was a very special time.
So it was an amazing project to do. It was very, very, very well received on opening. And it was also received by your industry peers because it got the FIA award for Best Attraction.
Yeah, this, I'll quote again, I'm going to quote myself when I accepted this award. This was why we're in this business. This was an award for an attraction that was the right attraction, the right place, new technology, created solely in Imagineering, was I won't talk about money, but it was really on budget. You know, and had a significant impact on the attendance, and it really relaunched Euro Disneyland, which became Disneyland Paris. It was an iconic attraction that really meant a lot to people, and so this was the cherry on the top of the sundae.
And it still is today. Like, look at it. You know, the silhouette of Discoveryland could not be the same, or the whole park, if you would take this out. It's so ingrained in the design of the park and of Discoveryland. It's beautiful.
And it's constantly being updated. And Michelle knows this better than I do, but I will tell you that they've done an exterior lighting experience in this thing that is unbelievable. The building lends itself to all those nooks and crannies and all that, and it changes every time it launches. So it's amazing, really amazing.
So it changes every time, and that means that we are now changing it back to an original story again. Tim and I are so excited. I hope you guys are also so excited. Of course, there's going to be some more news over time, what we're going to do in the inside. Maybe not everything is 100% the same as it was before, but the spirit of the original attraction for sure will be living on in this new generation version of the attraction, which will give the new generation, the next generation, really an opportunity to experience this attraction. And I hope that they will feel the magic of this attraction that I felt personally when I was a teenager and did this attraction for the first time, and I couldn't believe my eyes and ears. It was such a wonderful experience. So that is really what we want to try and bring back. Tim, your vision on this has been amazing. It has been an inspiration for so many Imagineers here, so many Imagineers at Disneyland Paris, and it's something that we can build further up on as we look at a bright, bright future where Space Mountain will live again in a Jules Verne themed world. So thank you.
So please come to Disneyland Paris and take a ride to the moon. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you guys and enjoy the show.